Awesome. And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the second episode of the Awesomely Average Show. I'm your average guest, Aaron Sini, and with me tonight is my super awesome guest from Cantina Conversations, the most knowledgeable Star Wars person on the entire planet. I will take no other questions. Will Beamon, Papa Star Wars himself. Will, how are you?
I'm fine, but you just put me in really big shoes that I hope I can live up to.
I would put your knowledge against absolutely anybody. Thanks for coming on the show to talk about Cantina Conversations and Star Wars and yourself and all sorts of things.
Absolutely. I'm excited that we were able to make it happen since last week fell through last minute.
Yeah, you were supposed to be the inaugural guest, the very first one. You were actually the very first person I ever even bounced Awesomely Average off of. So it was a bummer to hear that you got strep, but you've bounced back. It wasn't the Rona.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And that just shows the state of the world that we're in, where having strep throat was the better alternative.
Right. Oh, man. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better, and I'm glad you were able to make such a quick recovery that you were able to come join us tonight.
Yeah. Thank you, prescription drugs that I use responsibly.
Shout out to Big Pharma. Wow. Starting off hot. Awesome, man. Well, for those of you who don't know and weren't with us last week when I was interviewing Kyle Stevens, this show is all about getting to know other content creators on the internet, people who are producing podcasts or Twitch streamers, photographers, filmmakers, whatever. And we just get to sit down and talk about how they got into content creation, about their specific niche is, in this case, Star Wars, and the Cantina Conversations podcast. Cantina Conversations has been going on for over a year now, right?
Yeah, I think our first episode was August 2019, I believe. Yeah, I think that sounds right. Yeah.
Crazy.
So it's still going. We took a hiatus for a little bit, but
which we will be talking about, future spoilers.
Okay.
Anthony, Pirate Cat, future guest, thanks for joining us. Thanks for hopping in. Awesome. Well, as I do always, and by always I mean last week, let's start the show with how it all started, sir. I want to hear your twin sons moment with Star Wars. How did you get into this journey of falling so passionately in love with Star Wars, getting into this universe and all that good stuff?
Okay, well, I'll try to not be overly lengthy with it, because it always ends up becoming a rambly story.
It's fine.
But like the twin sons moment, I guess, or at least what led Star Wars to being the films that I watched the most as a child, was because I grew up in the era still when Blockbuster Video still existed.
Yep.
So every weekend I got to go with my sister, and then eventually my brother, once he became a thing, and we could pick out a film. And usually I would always pick out a Star Wars movie, and like my sister would pick a movie, and then my dad would pick like something that was a new release for all of us to watch together.
Yeah.
But and so, like, funny enough, is like the one that ended up becoming my favorite Star Wars film of all time, and still is Return of the Jedi. And that's the one that I watched the most. That's the one I watched the most as a child as well. But like, when I was doing my show, when we were reviewing all the movies, when we were doing Empire Strikes Back, and I was talking about how that was the movie growing up that I had watched the least. And I understood, like, now as an adult, like from the filmmaking perspective, like why it's so revered as the best all the time.
Yeah.
But I remember watching it so infrequent when I was younger. One, because like it's not as fun as the original and Return of the Jedi, and like the key to Star Wars to me is fun. But like two, I kind of realized in hindsight now, it's like, since that's been like widely accepted as like the best one, it was just always out of stock at Blockbuster. Right. So like that would make sense why I never had access to it, and why Return of the Jedi was what I had. But like my dad and I are what have a relationship where we're very much the same person but different at the same time.
Sure.
Like it wasn't until I reached like my adult years where I finally started to get along with him and stopped trying to be like the you know, like an idiot kid, idiot teenager once I grew up and we started kind of having more common ground. But like the one thing besides sports that I could always bond with my father over was Star Wars, out of all things.
Okay.
And there were other movies too that he showed me when I was younger that he loved, that he passed down to me, and they ended up becoming big loves of mine. Like he showed me Close Encounters of the First Kind for the first time. And that's actually, fun fact, believe it or not, that's actually my favorite movie of all time, not a Star Wars film. And like he introduced me to Jaws, but like since I grew up in like that perfect time in the 90s of Star Wars, like I would rent all these movies all the time, like these Star Wars films, and like I had the toys and stuff and play them. But like when the special editions came out, my dad took me to see all 3 of them in theaters.
Oh, nice.
So that was like something he would never, like, he's not like a big movie theater guy. Like he would rent them at home, watch them on TV. So like that was like one of the few experiences outside of sports that he would bond with me with, was he took me to see Star Wars. And then he took me to see all the prequels in theaters as well. Right. So when The Force Awakens ended up coming around, just like poetry, I took him to see The Force Awakens to kind of complete the circle. He's older now and falls asleep in movies really easy. So he just said after that one, he wasn't interested in seeing the others in theaters. So we never continued that tradition, but at least when the comeback happened, I was able to at least take him. So I guess that's kind of how it became the comfort food for me.
Sure.
And so I guess I can just wrap it up and say that's why it's become the thing to me. But like there's a much longer, deeper answer I could give, but just for the sake of time, I'll just say that's what made it click, was watching it just ad nauseum as a kid. It just kind of became part of my blood.
Shout out to Return of the Jedi. That's also my favorite and absolutely the best. Also, hi Jackson. Thanks for hanging out and joining us. Also, for real, thanks for respecting the red and blue lights. I did that very much on purpose. I told Mr. Beamon right before the show that this was for him. I was trying to keep it on theme. So, so my next question is there any reason you waited until 2019 to start creating Star Wars content? It just seems like it's been such a big part of your life, you know. When I joined the Kind of Funny Facebook group, like that was something I very immediately knew about you. Any reason that it took until 2019 to start Cantina Conversations?
I mean, there's really no specific reason. I, for some reason, got way late into we've reached that age in technology where you can create content yourself pretty easily game.
Yeah, sure.
And I also, up until I mean almost till my mid-20s, I mean, not that I'm old, I'm only 30, but like it wasn't until I was about 24 I started actually having like expendable cash. Sure. I spent the majority of my early 20s like barely scraping by paycheck to paycheck. So,
sure.
So fun stuff wasn't something I was able to buy for myself often. But when I actually started building some things up, the first thing I did was I bought a couple mics, and like I was trying to and I downloaded like a free audio program.
Yeah.
And me and my little brother and another friend of mine, we started a pop culture podcast.
Oh, nice.
Where we just kind of talked about whatever, because the 3 of us were all nerdy, dorky dudes. And we did that for like, I don't know, 6 months maybe. And then like schedules changed and stuff like that. And like I was still learning how everything worked. So it wasn't good. It's not like we were trailblazing the internet at the time, but it wasn't until I started going to college again and actually like getting more hands-on time with stuff where I like learned how to use equipment better.
Yeah.
I got better mics, and then I was like, well, I want to get back into content creation, but I don't want to do it by myself.
Right.
And I know I want to do it about Star Wars. So that's kind of just how Cantina Conversations came to be. Like, that's probably the next thing I'll do is something Star Wars related. It just was a matter of if or when, not if.
Nice. Which is a perfect lead into the next question. Your new hope. What actually got you to start Cantina Conversations? What got you to finally pull that trigger?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't want this to sound as egomaniac as it probably will end up sounding, but like, You and I, we've met mutually through the Kind of Funny Facebook groups. So, like, we obviously can consume the Kind of Funny content.
Yeah.
And like knowing Star Wars as much as I am, or like that I do, and try to communicate with people about it, talk to people about it, like not teach per se, but like I enjoy conversating about it. But like as much as I love the Kind of Funny crew and the content they make, their opinions and in their information on Star Wars is just atrocious. So I thought, well, I'm just going to start something myself that does it correctly, so that way people can actually have an outlet to go to if they really want to learn about stuff that actually happened or how the canon is actually working and things like that. So that sounds super petty and egomaniac of mine, but like I also wanted to do just a general podcast on it as well. So that was kind of like what nudged me along into doing it, is nice. Once I had found or kind of lightly talked about it with DJ and Jackson.
Sometimes spite is, the best way to do it. Also, the puns about what I'm doing over here, thank you very much. There are more Star Wars puns to come. Cool, Greg, what's up, man? Thanks for joining us. Star Wars with Darth Maul, the dopest one. Yeah, and the one where Anakin killed them all kids was cool too. Honestly, the one where Anakin kills all them kids is actually pretty cool. I've come around on that movie a lot. Sweet, man. Well, that's cool. So how did you and Jackson and DJ get connected to decide to make them like your two co-hosts? Because I got to tell you, I was appalled at the stories of how they got into Star Wars on the very first episode of Cantina Conversation. DJ's like, I don't know. I went and saw that Force Awakens one. And I was like, that was pretty neat. Guess I'll check out the rest. And I was like, this guy's on a Star Wars podcast.
Yeah. That's what I like about DJ's, what he brings to the table is he's like the exact demographic of what Star Wars Coming Back is targeted for. So like for those that haven't listened to our podcast, DJ, who's one of the co-hosts, had never seen a Star Wars movie until he saw The Force Awakens. And then after that, he liked that movie so much, he decided to watch all the other ones. So that's how his fandom started. But I can't really remember the exact instance on how Jackson and DJ came into the fold, other than we got along really well through talking online already. And I knew Jackson had liked Star Wars because we had interacted before about it. And when I was getting ready to start this podcast up, they were just the first two that came to my mind to reach out to, and was just like, hey, would you guys have an interest in starting a podcast about Star Wars? And both of them said yes almost immediately.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was just a match made in heaven, I guess, because I think we have a really good flow when we record together. Plus our friendship has exploded and we've gotten very close over the last year and a half now too.
And also, for real, DJ, I love you and your takes on the show. I did not know the three of you very well. I just knew you had started it, and I was like, yep, I'm going to support these guys. I'm going to listen. And it just blew my mind. And then, let's talk a little bit non-Star Wars content related about the three of you guys. The Quest. Let's talk about The Quest and why that's not being turned into content, because honestly, I think it would be really good.
When we first thought up the idea for that, it was going to be another podcast that we were going to do. And then it was like right when we were getting ready to take a hiatus again, for the first time, I mean, and we were like, why are we talking about doing a whole new podcast when we're having to take a break from the main one that we've been doing anyway? Right. We're like, well, let's just do this as something for friends to do. So basically, if you follow us on Twitter at all, or see in the Kind of Funny Facebook group, us reference The Quest at all using a hashtag or not, we decided upon ourselves to watch every comic book film ever made leading up to the release of the Snyder Cut, because
single one,
because it's been so meta that like the Snyder Cut's going to end up being like the be all end all of comic book films. So we were like, well, what if we just watch everyone ever? So that way we can be like, we are scholars of the comic book film genre. And so like it started with like a Superman film that was like made in the 50s, and we've been
right?
What's that?
George Reeves Superman?
Yeah, with George Reeves Superman, and we just got done watching Batman Forever this week. It was supposed to be The Crow, but it's not as easy to stream in Canada as we originally thought. So DJ has to work on that. But
so are watching things that I didn't even know existed. Like I knew about the 1994 Fantastic Four. Like I knew about a lot of that kind of stuff. I had no idea there was a Doctor Strange movie. That was
the Doctor Strange film from, I think it's 78 is when that came out. It is not only one of the worst movies I've ever seen, but it is extraordinarily a product of the horny 70s. Like there is tension in that film that does not belong in a comic book film.
Oh my God.
We questioned our sanity for a while too, just because the majority of the 70s and 80s movies are terrible.
Just god awful. That Captain America is not good.
Neither of them are. There are 3 Captain America movies made before like I was born. There were 2 in the 70s, and then there was 1 in 1990 exactly.
I have one more question about The Quest, and then we'll get back to the actual questions. What makes The Punisher so bad? So I watched that movie, like renting it from the video store as like a little kid, and to me it was like, oh, cool, comic book guy that I liked on movie, neat. And then I haven't seen it since, and it's on the bottom of I think all 3 of your lists.
Yeah,
what makes that one so bad?
A lot actually. It's just the film itself plus the story. And it's so low budget. Like I can't even recite to you back what the plot is because I was checking out off and on throughout it. Just like I wasn't turning it off, but like there are just parts of my brain that have blacked out. Yeah, they protected me from watching it. He's naked twice for some reason in that movie.
Oh, sure.
Which makes no sense. But don't get me wrong though. Nothing is going to compare, I don't think, ever to that 1994 Fantastic Four movie. That's probably the worst movie I've ever seen, like ever. Not only a comic book movie.
Yeah, calm down. They're talking about the Dolph Lundgren one from the 80s. Get learned, Anthony. It's really, really, really bad.
We haven't made it to the Punishers from the 2000s yet. That's on the way.
Cool, man. Well, let's get back to wrapping up how it all started. What has been your favorite episode to record so far? Do you have one that sticks out to you as like, this episode is awesome? And equally, if people are just discovering your podcast, what is the episode you would point to them to say, this is where you guys should dive in?
Well, I think actually the episode we released this week is probably the best one we've ever done as far as content creation. We hit on all strides on that one. Everyone had great articulate thoughts. Not that we don't week to week anyway. Just for some reason, this week's episode in particular, I'm especially proud of. But I think the one that I would like to point people towards first, just because unfortunately the state of Star Wars, that's how the discourse is based around, is I'll point everyone to our 3-hour smorgasbord about The Last Jedi. Because we don't just talk about that film, but like the 3 of us have all 3 different approaches to how we feel about that movie too. So I think that sets a good barometer of what to expect on every other episode that we've made and where we're standing at.
I would agree. I think that's a great episode for people to realize that you guys aren't 3 really good friends who are just going to agree with each other on everything Star Wars.
Yeah, because I beat Jackson and DJ in a submission on that episode.
Nice. Awesome, man. Well, that takes me to my next segment, how it's going, the current state. So you guys did all the movies in review. Mm-hmm. You guys did Mando, like you did a recap every week of the Mandalorian episodes. And then you guys took that brief hiatus and now you're back. So what is it that you guys are currently covering and talking about on the show?
When we came back from our hiatus that we had to take just because Jackson was swamped with school because he's in college currently, and I had started a new job that had way different hours than I was used to.
Sure.
Even before, because like the year before we took our hiatus, like I had a job with very flexible hours, and then unfortunately that job went away. So I had all the time in the world when I was unemployed, but that changed once my hours changed at my new job. So I had to get adjusted to that and all that kind of life. And like, it's like an actual corporate job to where I have to like look presentable every day and couldn't just wear jeans and a collared shirt. So it took a little bit of an adjustment, and I had to start going to bed earlier. But like, so that once we came back to the hiatus, we timed it perfectly with the return of Mandalorian season 2.
Yeah.
We used to do 2 episodes a week where we'd have our regular podcasts, and then we would do Mando Mondays where we would just review The Mandalorian that week. But they're all just blending together now. We're just doing 1 episode a week just to make the workload better. So we did every episode of this past season of The Mandalorian. We did the Lego Holiday Special review. And then now we've moved into, since that's over, obviously, we're going to be moving into more conversational podcasts that are just based off of topics in general about regarding Star Wars, whether it's something specific from the canon, something specific from the movies, or just a general Star Wars topic. And then we're going to touch briefly on some comic books that are coming out, some other novels that we've read, and all of the High Republic stuff that's coming out right now, because that's the big initiative. We're reading through and reviewing all of that stuff as well.
Currently talking about this, right here?
Yeah, the last episode that we did is for Light of the Jedi, and it covers chapters 1 through 18, plus the interlude that follows that. So just part 1 of the book.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll be keeping up with all of that kind of stuff, and DJ's got some things that he's working on too that aren't 100% set in stone yet to announce, but he's scheming some things up. And then we're also going to be working on some other stuff that we just haven't announced yet too. But
nice. No spoilers. Not going to tell.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, it depends on if you're going to do a "what's the future look like" question later or not. Because I'll just save it for that then.
Perfect. Way to hold on. I wanted to talk about one of your bigger moments that happened. You guys started doing a couple live shows here and there during the hiatus, just to like keep us all wanting to come back for more. Let's talk about that Ezra moment, getting the voice actor of Ezra from Star Wars Rebels to intro out your show. And ended up being a really awesome moment for you guys.
Yeah, it was very unexpected because what you're referencing is what we called the Cantina Conversations. When we were all under lockdown when Corona started. And we actually, because of lockdown, a couple of us, we would have a few nights where we were just like, hey, we don't have anything going on. Let's just do a live stream and just cover some news that's come out since we've stopped recording. And I wanted to kind of do something special for the second one that we did. So like I signed up for that Cameo website where you pay like, I don't know, 20 or 30 bucks and you can just pay for somebody on there. And I was like, well, who's on here from Star Wars that I could have? And I was like, oh, here's Taylor Gray, Ezra. I love Rebels. Jackson and DJ just started watching Rebels right around this time. So so they were like, yeah, that'd be cool. So I got it. And all I said in the instructions was just like, we're doing a live stream for our podcast that is currently on hiatus. It'd be cool if you just said, hi, this is Taylor Gray, the voice of Bridger, and you're listening to Cantina Conversations. That was all I said.
Yeah.
And so I was expecting, just a quick little 10-second blurb or whatever. But what I ended up getting back was like a near 3-minute video from him talking about how thankful and how much he loves like what the fans have done for Star Wars to him, and how people that create their own Star Wars podcast content is so awesome and inspirational to him, because like he knows that he has a part of that franchise that's touching so many lives. And like I was just really taken aback that he took that much time. I mean, 3 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but
no, but when you're just
looking at your phone recording, 3 minutes is a long time.
Yeah.
And like that he comes across with a very genuine message. So I was really impressed by that. So
even though that was live, they can still find that on YouTube. The quarantine
I don't know if the VOD of that is up to watch or not. I know we made the audio form of one of them as a podcast episode, but I can't remember because at the time during the podcast or during the hiatus, we didn't know if we would even come back at all.
Sure.
So I didn't really put too much effort into preserving the VOD. I hope the video is still there somewhere. Maybe it's just unlisted, but I'm sure Taylor Gray won't remember even doing it because I'm sure he does tons of those. But if I ever get the opportunity to meet him in person, I'm going to make sure to give at least a more extended thank you for taking so much time out of that, because it was great.
I mean, I just remember like when you guys have been on hiatus for a little while, so I was really excited to watch that first live show. And then you were kind of like teasing that something special was coming, and I was like, oh man, it's got to be somebody like related to Star Wars entering them. But I was also very taken aback by just this very genuine, heartfelt like thank you to you guys and the fans, and it was really cool. So I just wanted to take a moment, and I don't know, it's one that I remember very vividly from watching you guys.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I still sometimes I'll think back on it and just how great that was of him to do that.
Yeah, super cool. Also, Dolph Lundgren in a Bad Punisher movie sounds like a good drinking movie. Jackson Wells saying absolutely watch that movie drunk. Good to know. And if I rewatch it ever, I will. I didn't watch it drunk when I was 8, but you know.
Well,
which now it's weird. Like, how did I get to rent that movie when you're like, he was naked twice? I'm like, I don't remember any of that. Awesome, man. Well, that takes me to where you're headed. I want to talk about kind of where the show is going, where you would like to go with Star Wars content, all that kind of good stuff. So what are the plans for the show in 2021? Do you guys have any big live shows like we just talked about? What can you tell us about Cantina Conversations going forward?
So no new live shows planned for now. That could always change, just depending on how the year goes. But I just want to keep the main focus for at least myself, and I think Jackson, since he's in the comments, can disagree with me if he wants. But like, our main focus is we want to just continue making Star Wars content that we're passionate about, that is consistent, explains elements of the lore for people that aren't as into the weeds as we are, and most importantly, that we don't give in to the negativity that can be found online when it comes to not just Star Wars, but really anything. I want people to come away with a positive Star Wars experience when they consume our show. So we have a lot more fun stuff coming up that I can't really say everything DJ's working on, because DJ hasn't really told us yet. He's being very secretive about it. And as you know, DJ's the man of a million words, so he's been giving us a ton of details about what it is. We are going to start working on getting some guests on this year, and that's something we haven't been doing traditionally because we've had such a set in stone agenda on what we've been trying to accomplish. So we'll see when that's going to start, because we've reached out to some people who are probably a bit out of our league right at the start to see if any of them are willing to step down with our level of fanhood, I guess, and see if we can get any of them on as guests. So we're kind of swinging big first, just to see if we can hit some home runs off the bat and just kind of build from there. But
nice.
But yeah, I'm just excited to continue making good Star Wars content for people to listen to, because I always get feedback that everyone loves it so much, which is super great and humbling. And anyone that's listening now that might not listen to the show or does listen to the show, never interact, if you think something that we make is bad, please don't hesitate to let me know, because I do like having feedback on things. So
it just makes us all better, right? Like, I typically go to those who I really trust after each of these shows, like whether it's Speaking of Stadia or something like this. And now that I do it live, I'm even looking for more feedback like that. Because we just all want to be better, and we do this. We don't. I mean, I won't speak for you, but like, I don't necessarily do this to get a ton of listeners or to get hundreds of fans. But what I do is I do this because I want to make something that people actually care about listening to, and actually want to actually tune into. So that's feedback is so important, and I love that you guys are always so open to that.
Yeah, I agree. My goal for Cantina Conversations is not to become famous at all. My goal is just to give people a positive, fun Star Wars show every week, and that's what's most important. It's never going to become my career, and I don't want it to become my career, because Star Wars at this point is still my outlet. Just the way that my brain is chemically wired through that, I found out that escapism is very big for my mental survival. So
Sure.
that's one thing that'll benefit with me is like, since Star Wars is like my main method of escapism, not that I don't have other hobbies, but like it's always going to keep me in the level of weeds that I need to be in to continue to make content on.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, like it's such an ingrained part of my body. Like just like with my anxiety, when I record with stuff, like I have to fidget with stuff. So like I play with a sheave toy. I like fold the hands open and stuff like while I record. Like you can never see because my hands aren't on there, but like I'm constantly fiddling with just a sheave toy. So like that's my thing.
I'm going to share something with you right now. I have this. It's just a tape measure. But I'm the exact same way. When I record, my hands have to do something to get that nervous energy out. So that's really funny that you would say that. And I'm like, I was a little bit more conscious of it tonight. I was like, why am I doing this like all the time? And then you shared that. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of positivity, I do like to shout out other shows when they pop up. I want to get you connected at some point with Anthony, who runs Poptimistic, and it's a pop culture podcast that is literally driven around positivity. Okay. Super cool. I would love it if you were ever on an episode to talk Star Wars or whatever with those guys. I was on one of their episodes. They'll actually be a guest on here talking about the show, but I don't think there's enough of that in the world. Content creators that want to take something that they love and are passionate about and just be positive. There's even like hardcore Star Wars fans that want to create Star Wars podcasts just to shit on the thing that they claim that they love so much. So,
and I do want to clarify, don't get me wrong. Us making a positive Star Wars podcast does not mean these are immune to criticism, because there are several episodes that we heavily criticize what we've consumed, and there's a place for criticism. There's not a place for toxicity in my mind, though. There's a big difference between the two, and sometimes those lines get blurred, especially on things like Twitter.
Yeah. Nice. And I agree. And I would say that Poptimistic also does a really good job. Like, they don't mind criticizing things, but their goal is not to necessarily tear things apart. And in fact, they have this really cool place, or this little segment, that if one of them gets too negative, they'll say you need to shine a light on it, and they'll say something positive about it. And it's really cool for them to like kind of keep that at the forefront of what they're doing. Hey, cool, Greg, get me and Will on a Kind of Funny show. Let's get famous. Come on. I'd be more than happy to go on there. So that way there's a level-headed Star Wars opinion on something.
Help
me out. Let's go. So what do you feel like is the ultimate goal when it comes to creating content? You actually said you don't want this to become your job. So are you saying like Star Wars official YouTube channel calls you tomorrow and they're like, we've watched your show, we think you're awesome, we want you to be like, come on and do a regular weekly show?
Okay, well that's different.
Okay.
If Lucasfilm or Disney Online would call me and offer me a job, absolutely, without hesitation, I would pick up and go. I've even told my girlfriend that, I said that, because we were kind of just discussing life one day, and I was like, I think the only thing that's really going to get me out of here is when Lucasfilm calls. And she goes, what do you mean when? And I was like, it's got to be a matter of time. I've applied so many times now, they're going to get tired of seeing me eventually. They're going to give in. I mean, that's why I like to broadcast my love for Star Wars so much, that I have this BVS poster behind me. But if Lucasfilm called, absolutely, that'd be like the ultimate goal is to work for them to some capacity. But
without them calling you, what's the ultimate goal in creating this show?
Well, I mean, without them calling and expanding beyond that, it's just what I said, though. It's just making positive, passionate content about Star Wars and continuing to do that, just because it's something that I love and something I want to keep doing. It's just a good outlet for me. So I like doing it. So that's pretty much, I guess, the ultimate goal is just, I just want to keep having people come across a place where they can have a good Star Wars podcast to listen to, I guess. I don't really know without just repeating myself too much.
Sure. Nice. Also, he'll ask Kevin for us. So thanks.
Oh, nice.
Cool Greg.
Thanks,
also,
Cool Greg.
Cool Greg, if you also wanted to just follow me on Twitter, like, that'd be cool enough too. You know, it's right here in the bottom right hand corner. Awesome, man. So I also wanted to ask you if you could interview one guest on your show other than George Lucas, who would it be and why?
Oh, okay. That I actually have a good answer for that. It would be Marcia Lucas. I would love to. I wish I could have the opportunity to have a sit down interview and just talk about the editing process of A New Hope.
Nice.
Because like it's like the Hollywood's loudest secret that without her editing A New Hope late in the game, that film would have come out as a mess and would have been dead on arrival. So I would have loved to just discuss that whole editing process with her and her thoughts behind everything.
Man, if I threw $100 down on this table and they were like, guess who Will would pick other than George Lucas, I would have said Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
So fast.
It's weird that he's not number one, because like I make the joke all the time that I would love to be his adopted son, but I met him and got to talk to him for almost 10 minutes. And like I feel like I've had that first shock where he's not like a dream interview anymore. Now he's like a dream, someone I'd want to work for.
Sure.
Which is different to me, but yeah.
Yeah, Anthony being like, that'd be super cool. She saved that film through the editing process.
Yeah.
So that would be really cool to hear that story. I'd be down for that. Do you want to hear one of the worst things about me is I once had dinner with Kathleen Kennedy and I did not appreciate it at the time, even a little bit.
Really?
Yep.
Oh,
I wrote an essay to get to go to the Telluride Film Festival. They selected 16 kids in the nation, and I was one of them. And I got to have a lot of really cool experiences. But at the time, I was this snobby little film kid that's like, I want to direct. And they were like, hey, you're going to have dinner with Kathleen Kennedy tonight. And she produced, at the time, they were like, she produced Jurassic Park. And, they were kind of going through her films. And I was just like, produced? Okay. I'm like, I did not understand. And she was super sweet. And I asked a lot of questions about movies. And like, it was still a cool experience. But I know that 16-year-old Aaron did not appreciate what was happening in that moment in my life. So yeah, we got to go to some fancy Italian restaurant and just literally just this tiny little group. There was 8 of us at the time. The other kids hadn't gotten there yet. And yeah, crazy.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, she was very delightful. But again, I kick myself constantly for not taking that moment more seriously. Who is the coolest person you've ever met related to Star Wars? I know you have a picture with Mark Hamill. That's pretty awesome. But what else?
The Mark Hamill experience was like the dream come true, since like I can't show it, but like on my arm here, I have the Return of the Jedi lightsaber tattooed on me. Like Luke's my favorite hero ever. Like I love his Joker. So like, but like when I met him, it was like the only time I've actually gotten legitimate like starstruck. Like I could not speak out of my mouth. And then to make matters worse, when they took the photo, I wasn't ready yet. So
halfway.
I look like a total goober in it, but it was worth it though, just to have the picture. Yeah. But I mean, I guess because like I did meet Dave Filoni, which was a really cool experience how that came to play, because I was waiting in line to get Sam Witwer's autograph, and then he just walked up, doodled a picture of Darth Maul on his table and left it there, and then came up and talked to us for a little bit. And then like he gave me a Lucasfilm pin that I actually have sitting here. It's unopened still. I have it on my desk that I'll look at sometimes because I'm weird like that. But so like he was really cool. Ahmad Best, aka Jar Jar Binks, was really cool. He was an awesome person to talk to. I met Janina Gavinkar, who plays Iden Versio. She was really fun to meet. I met Kevin Thompson, who plays a couple of the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi. He was a delight to talk to, just because I've never heard that, like anyone really talk about that experience before. Yeah. So like that was a lot of fun. And then I mean, there's so many Star Wars people I've just ran into casually as well that I've talked to interact with a little bit too. But like I guess Dave Filoni would probably be the coolest person.
That's awesome. Yeah. Sweet. Well, that brings us to the rapid blaster fire section. I fire off questions, you answer as quickly as you can. And then while this is happening, chat, look at me. I need you to start asking questions in the comments, because at the end of rapid fire, that's when we'll get into listener questions where we will let you answer these people's questions live. Anthony already has one in there, but I'll read it when we get to the end. So let's go rapid blaster fire. Get that lightsaber out and see if you can block these shots. Best Star Wars movie.
Return of the Jedi.
Pizza or wings?
Wings.
Shorts or jeans?
Shorts.
DJ or Jackson?
Oh, you can't make me pick one of my sons.
I always do one where you can't actually choose. I did it to Kyle last week too. Bone in or boneless?
Bone in.
Kylo or Vader?
Ooh, Vader still.
Okay. Could you eat a 2-pound burrito?
Oh, absolutely. I didn't get this big eating little.
Perfect. All right. Now it's time to hear from the listeners themselves, where you guys can ask all the questions you want. You can make it about Star Wars. You can make it about the show. You can ask him, if he wears underwear. I don't care. It's whatever you want. Islam wants to know if people should get over Knights of the Old Republic.
Absolutely, they should.
What do you mean?
Both of those games are very good. I appreciate both of their existence, but the Knights of the Republic 3 that people clamor for is not going to happen. And the sooner they get over that, the better. We will probably see a Star Wars RPG someday, influenced by KOTOR. And it will probably draw some characters like Revan from it, but we are not going to get a Knights of the Old Republic game in the fashion people want. I just don't see it happening.
Man, really just shooting down.
I know, that's a hard truth. I'm sorry.
Anthony wants to know how you were meeting all these amazing people. Was it mostly through cons?
Yeah, mostly through Star Wars Celebration, a couple times through Indiana PopCon, Indiana Comic-Con, and then once just randomly in a restaurant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. He also wants to know your favorite lightsaber design.
I mean, just my default answer is just Luke's Return of the Jedi hilt forward, but like I'm a big fan of Kylo Ren's lightsaber. Yeah. I love the hilt design and the saber design, so I think that's probably the closest to a runner-up. And then I obviously too like Darth Maul as well.
I actually really want to eventually hear the story of his like lightsaber and the construction and like why it's kind of jittery, and yeah, I'm very fascinated by that design. I love the Kylo design. How do you feel about the spinny Inquisitor design?
Oh, those are cool. They're fine. I don't have any thoughts either way about them really.
Okay. I just thought this was funny. This anti-KOTOR attitude is pretty toxic for somebody who said this is a place toxic.
I guess so.
Well, okay. What about Jade Empire 2? Is that ever happening?
I've never played Jade Empire 1, actually. I've heard very good things about it, though.
Man, fair. All right. Mel says, what would you say to someone who has never given Star Wars a fair shot asking for a friend?
Well, I mean, like, as in, like, what my reaction would be? I have a lot of friends that have never experienced Star Wars. I think
she wants to convince her to watch Star Wars because she's never seen them.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess if you want to give it a fair shot, I would suggest watching them and just seeing how you feel from there. I would definitely start with probably the original trilogy, because that's for a first-time watch, you always go release order, in my opinion. And then if the original trilogy doesn't do it for you, you don't want to watch anymore after that, then I think you've given it a fair shot then. But
what about go the DJ route? Watch Force Awakens, no context, and then if that's your jam, go back and see the rest of the story.
I don't know. I don't have enough of a sample size to know how that works. It worked for DJ. I do understand Mel also is in Canada, where DJ is from. So maybe for Canadians, that's
just how it works.
Yeah. So maybe try that. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I challenged Mel to just watch every Star Wars movie this year, which isn't hard. That's less than one a month. So,
well, yeah, it would be one a month now.
Right at 1 month. Yeah. So yeah, that was that challenge. JJ said that he didn't have a blueprint to work off of, so he had to ghetto make it, which is why there are exhaust ports on the side. That's what he's saying about the story about why Kylo. I know, but I want like a canon story about like Kylo trying to figure this out, and he left Luke's teachings like before he ever had to make his own lightsaber or something. Like that's what I want. I don't want JJ's excuse. I love this question. Give a 30-second pitch for a better Rise of Skywalker plot.
Oh man, I could do this off the top of my head. For some reason, I'm like exhausted talking about this movie. I guess
discourse around the new trilogy is in fact exhausting.
Yeah, so and like we just had to go through the trenches on it again too.
Yeah.
Like I would keep Rey as a nobody if she wants to. I think everyone and their mother knew once the title was announced that she was going to end up taking the Skywalker name.
Yeah.
And I think having her not be a Palpatine would make that better. Sorry, Mel, since you've never seen any of them.
She won't remember any of
it. I think that's one of the changes I would make. I think I would have Ben's redemption earlier on in the film, and I would keep him around to do Ben Solo stuff longer because like once he's redeemed, he doesn't speak again except for the word ow for the entirety of the rest of that movie. So like that's kind of a waste to have Adam Driver when you don't do anything like that. But I don't know. I can't give a 30-second pitch right now. My brain's still fried from talking about this over the course of the last month. Sorry, I dropped the ball on that one.
You already made some good key changes. It's okay. You're good. I would have never mind. I won't say this one because Mel might actually remember that. But there's one major point at the end of that entire movie that I would have changed completely. But awesome. Any other questions from the comments? Not having dialogue.
I mean, he was his acting ability sold him not having dialogue in the movie to make it work. That's 100% accurate to say. But
Adam Driver is absolutely fantastic. Awesome. Well, I don't believe there's any other questions. So that brings us to the end of the show. Let's go ahead. Papa Star Wars, plug yourself. Where can the good people find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Papa Star Wars. I have an Instagram. I don't really use it though, so it's not worth finding me at. But you can listen to our show, Cantina Conversations. There's the Twitter handle. It's at Cantina Convo. We have new episodes that go up on Mondays, typically around 9 a.m. Eastern time. Unless I hold the episode hostage when I'm sick, then it comes out several days later. So just look for that on Mondays. Go ahead and interact with us on that Twitter if you want, because that's the best way that we've been trying to build our community so far. Other than that, that's probably the best way to find me.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. It was wonderful having you to talk about Cantina Conversations. It really is a fantastic show that you guys put out, and I hope more people go out and listen to it and listen to all the good Star Wars things. I am not up to date on the most recent episode because I'm not up to date on my reading, but I do plan on getting caught up here shortly. Actually, I do have one final question.
Ooh, the one more thing.
The one more thing. I want to hear your reaction to the end of Mandalorian season 2.
Oh man, my reaction to the end of that episode was, there was a flood of emotions basically because like I went from like fanboying out to crying nonstop to being like, oh man, now we don't have any episodes for years. And then there was like the post-credit scene, which was just like bonkers wild. So like that was making me laugh. And then there was like a week of frustration just because, like everything Star Wars, the discourse online quickly went south. So
I stayed away from it and just lived in the moment.
It would have been for the best to do that. But that ending scene was incredible. I do wish they would have recast. That's really, I guess, my only thing. It's just the uncanniness of it was a little off-putting. But I was still so sucked into it that it hits. I mean, I've rewatched it several times since, and it still hits.
I think I watched just that last 10 minutes like 5 times that night.
Yeah,
I was so into that final moment.
Yeah, I've got the whole fight scene saved on my phone now, so I'll pull it up and watch it several times throughout the week and stuff just for fun.
Cool, Greg. That Sasha Banks was fantastic.
Yeah, she did a really good job.
Yeah, I agree. I thought she was super cool. We're not getting into it, Anthony. We don't want to talk about why people were. No, sorry. Cool, Greg. You ever going to interview Sasha Banks again?
Yeah, that interview he did with her, that was awesome.
That was really good. Then you guys can talk about Mandalorian, and you can tell her about how much you liked when Anakin killed all them kids. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for listening, everybody. We really appreciate it. For me, you can find me at Twitter at Aaron Cini. I also do now have a Twitter for the show at Awesomely Avg, AVG. Otherwise, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, liking, sharing all this stuff, that would be super cool. Specifically on YouTube, I am trying to get to 100 subscribers, literally just so I can get a unique URL. That would make my life easier, so I could just type it out. Otherwise, next Tuesday, we have Corey Cudney coming on to talk about being the GIF master himself and video creation and his editing process and all sorts of really fun stuff. So come out, hang out with me and Corey next Tuesday. It's going to be good stuff. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'm Average. You're awesome.